Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm Jacqueline Sabao, Member of Parliament for Chikankata constituency. I'm the Vice Chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee. Chair, allow my members to introduce themselves.
Thank you.
Members.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Nicholas Mukumbi, Member of Parliament for Solwezi West constituency in Karumbira District and a member of the Public Accounts Committee.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. My name is Gordon Miller, Member of Parliament from Mufulira Central constituency and a member of the Public Accounts Committee.
Thank you. Honorable member, you can also introduce yourself as you are working in.
Chair, good morning. Members, good morning. Swongile Mwamba. I am a representative of the good people of Kasama Central, and I am also a member of the Public Accounts Committee.
Great, thank you very much. Due to time, and this committee has a lot of members, they will introduce them. So those who may wish to ask questions, as we interact with them, we can allow them to introduce themselves. And just to mention that we are live on the Parliament Radio. So I mentioned those heads which will allow you to do your presentation maybe within a maximum of say 30 minutes or say 35 minutes, so that we can give another maybe 15 minutes for the members to ask questions if at all there will be any, and then we'll end after that presentation. Vice Chairperson of the committee, you can start your presentation. We can see that you are also adequately covered by your substantive chairman who is sitting next there. I wish we could have removed him from there, but you can start.
Thanks so much, Chair. Chairperson, the Public Accounts Committee, whose functions are set out in Standing Orders 204A of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2024, has the honor to present its report on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 1st January to 31st December 2026 for 4 heads, namely Head 21, Loans and Investments, Head 28, Improvement Commission, and Head 87 and Corruption Commission, Head 99, Constitutional and Statutory Investments. Chair, in scrutinizing the 4 heads of expenditure, the committee held 9 meetings and interacted with ministers of finance and national planning and home affairs and internal security, respective permanent secretaries and director generals, selected grant-aided institutions and non-state actors. Chairperson, the report highlights the findings and recommendation of the committee on each head. The report is in 4 parts. Part 1 presents the committee's findings and recommendations arising from the consideration of the budget estimates for Head 21, Loans and Investments. Part 2 outlines findings and recommendations emanating from the consideration of the budget estimates for Head 28, Improvement Commission. Part 3 outlines findings and recommendations emanating from the consideration of the budget estimates for Head 87 and Corruption Commission, and Part 4 outlines findings and recommendations emanating from the consideration of the budget estimates for Head 99, Constitution and Statutory Expenditure. Let me highlight some of the recommendations of the committee of the 4 heads of expenditure. Head 21, Loans and Investment. On lending to state-owned enterprise, SOEs, 800 million. Observation: the 800 million allocated to recapitalize SOEs like Zambia Railways and NetSafe is commendable. However, the committee is concerned that these entities continue to record losses and pose fiscal risks. Recommendation by the committee: the government must ensure SOEs have credible and feasible turnaround strategies that should be assessed before funds are disbursed. This is to avoid wasting resources on unsustainable entities. 2. Infrastructure at Lua National Park, 313.5 million. Observation by the committee chair that 313.5 million has been allocated for infrastructure development at Lua National Park. While the allocation is commendable, the committee is concerned that previous fundings for the project has not resulted in any tangible progress. For instance, in 2025, 25 million was allocated to the Lua National Park for the construction of access road to the park. However, as of October 2025, construction had not commenced because the Road Development Agency (RDA) completed costing of the project only after the budget allocation. The assessment reviewed a total project cost of 900 million. This then necessitated the rescoping of the project by the RDA. The 2026 allocation of 313.5 million raises concern, particularly because it was made before proper costing of the project was conducted. This is contrary to Section 24(1) and 3 of the National Planning and Budget Act No. 1 of 2020, which require the Ministry of Finance and National Planning to appraise and publish major public investment projects in the Government Gazette prior to their inclusion in the national budget. Recommendation by the committee: in view of this, the 2026 allocation should be reduced to 25 million kwacha, matching the undisbursed 25 million for 2025. The balance of 288.5 million kwacha should be reallocated to higher priority areas, such as the recruitment of personnel for the Anti-Corruption Commission and strategic road infrastructure. 3. Dismantling of domestic arrears, 4.7 billion kwacha. Observation by the committee: the 4.7 billion kwacha allocation is a 17.9% reduction from 2025 and is 30% below the government's own 6.7 billion commitments in the debt dismantling strategy. This slow pace will hurt suppliers, constrain private sector liquidity, and undermine business confidence. Recommendation by the committee chair: the government should increase the allocation by 2 billion kwacha to meet its 6.7 billion kwacha commitment and accelerate the clearance of outstanding liabilities. 4. Recruitment of 10,000 workers, 3.2 billion kwacha. Observation by the committee chair: the allocation is a step in the right direction for job creation, but the committee recommends that the government must put in place measures to ensure this expansion in the public wage bill does not constrain fiscal flexibility or limit investments in productive sectors. Chair, Head 28, Movement Commission: 1. Increase the allocation of 199.9 million kwacha. Observation: increase the allocation of 199.9 million kwacha. The committee applauds the substantial increase from 2025, which will help address chronic understaffing and inadequate office space. Recommendation by the committee: the committee urges the government to ensure that the allocated funds are disbursed in accordance with the approved budget ceiling and in a timely manner to enable the commission become fully operational. Operational expenditure: use of goods and service, 11,175,414 kwacha. Observation: reduced operational expenditure of 11.2 million. The committee is concerned that the 49% cut to operational expenses, goods and services will cripple the commission's ability to function even with more staff and space. Recommendation: restore the operational budget to the 2025 level of 21.7 million kwacha by adding 10.6 million kwacha. This will ensure that the commission can effectively carry out its mandate. Chair, Head 87, Anti-Corruption Commission: additional recruitment, 20,916,596 kwacha. Observation: staffing shortfalls. The ACC is understaffed, 365 staff versus 407 approved, and has proposed 104 new positions. Recommendation by the committee: the Planning and Budgeting Committee to reallocate 20.9 million from the Liwa Park project to the ACC to recruit the 104 new staff. Since as a committee we can't transfer from head to head, we can only do within the head. So this one we are recommending to the Planning and Budgeting Committee. Solar installation, 6 million. Observation: power outage. Frequent power disruption at ACC headquarters hamper critical operations, including the case management system. Recommendation: the Planning and Budgeting Committee to reallocate 6 million from the Liwa Park project to install a solar energy system for interrupted power supply at the ACC headquarters. 1. Inadequate funding for corruption prevention and education. Observation: only 35% of the prevention program's budget is for core activities like public outreach and awareness. Recommendation by the committee chair: provide additional funding for public education programs to promote long-term behavioral change. 1. Uncompetitive remuneration and loss of skilled personnel. Observation by the committee: uncompetitive salaries. The ACC lost 18 skilled personnel in 2025 due to uncompetitive pay. Recommendation by the committee chair: provide adequate resources not just to expand staff, but to offer competitive remuneration packages to attract and retain skilled personnel. Head 99, Constitutional and Statutory Expenditure. Statutory Expenditure. 1. High debt servicing, 73.7 billion kwacha. Observation: debt servicing, 29.1% of the budget, exceeds the combined budget for health and education, which is 23.4%. Domestic debt servicing alone has surged by 39% to 52 billion kwacha. Recommendation by the committee chair: the government must continue proactive debt management operations, complete the debt restructuring process, and prioritize concessional borrowing aimed at freeing up resources for essential social and developmental sectors. Chair, in my conclusion, the committee acknowledges the government's commitment to infrastructure, SOEs, employment, and arrears clearance. However, mechanisms for prudent resource use are essential. These include: 1. Addressing SOE inefficiencies, concluding debt restructuring to create physical space, prioritizing public-private partnership (PPS) for infrastructure, matching the commitment to fight corruption with adequate resources for the ACC, and pursuing a balanced fiscal approach that manages debt while protecting critical social and economic expenditures. Chair, I submit.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairperson, for the submission with your team. Honorable members, do you have any follow-up questions, clarifications? Honorable Simushi, then Honorable Mabenga, in that order. Honorable Simushi.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation, Public Accounts Committee. My question is on the UA issue. I'm wondering as to why maybe the committee came up with that recommendation of reducing the money. I'm saying this because, first of all, I'm looking at the potential that Liwa National Park has in contributing to the national treasury. However, I'm alive to the fact that you are saying resources were budgeted for 2025, but they were not utilized. Now, in this year's budget, more resources have been given, but now you are saying we should reduce on the basis that RDA delayed in using those resources. I thought where the problem is not in reducing the money, but I think in maybe addressing the inefficiency that is at RDA, because the resources are needed for the real problems that are there in Liwa. And I'm saying this because I'm looking at the fact that Liwa has got a bigger potential of adding to our treasury. I know where you are taking the money, you are trying to solve the other problems that are there. But I think I'm looking at it from a long-term perspective, because then in the long term, the little resources that we are trying to, the money that is not there for these other sectors will then be sorted out. ultimately. So I thought that maybe instead of reducing the money, what we should have done is just maybe to look at the problem which led to the money not being utilized in time, especially that also even the money that is required for LIUA is even more than what has been allocated. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Mabenga.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think mine is similar to what my colleague has said. In my case, I just want to find out whether, because already the contract was signed on this particular road, the River National Park, the tarring of that road. These access roads not part of that contract. I don't know whether I had the site of the contract to ensure that probably there is no duplication of resources, because small roads normally they are incorporated in the main contract. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We also have a question from Honorable Mabumba, who is participating virtually. Honorable Mabumba.
Thank you, Chair. For me, Chair, I just wanted to find out from the committee, because in their recommendation to remove the funds, they did quote a provision of the Planning and Budgeting Act, to imply that, when you're doing those major investments, there should be some appraisal of some sort. Maybe I just want also to listen from them, if they did find out from the Minister of Tourism or the Minister of Finance, whichever way, why that appraisal was not done, just to ensure that when the funds are being put there, there's an appraisal that has been done to ascertain the beneficiation or the value of that particular investment. I submission.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair and your team, you can respond to those. One of our members, let me know in advance if there are any questions. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Let me allow my chairperson to help me in responding. Chair.
Chair, I don't know if I wanted to understand if I can respond also, or my colleagues can respond.
So you are a member of this committee, so you cannot respond, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Kambita, the issue of the LIUA, why we recommended the money to be transferred to another head.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairperson. Honorable colleagues in the Planning and Budgeting Committee, I think what the Public Accounts is trying to enlighten your expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee is the issue of budget credibility. Because we have this money which was allocated to the same project that is reappearing in the 2026 budget, and we have this very urgent need for the SEC system. So, and then by practice, we cannot expand the budget further than what has been allocated by the Minister of Finance, but we can move finances from one budget line to another. So the committee is making a suggestion of where monies which are needed like now can be gotten from. Looking at the fact that the LIUA National Park allocation has demonstrated that they were not ready for them to spend. So it's an issue of budget credibility which we are challenging, and that's the rationale for our recommendation. So you take it as that. So the minister needs to know that we don't allocate funds for them to sit there, but there is an urgent need here, and that's our suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Honorable Mwira.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Chair, just to add to that response, in the first place, just to take you back a bit, last year when we were reviewing this head again as a committee, this issue of the justification for the allocation that was made in this year could not even adequately be explained by the controlling officer. And we were of the view that in fact even the allocation for this year should not even have been there, because we are aware of other partners that are also investing and managing the LIUA National Park. So despite that, the allocation was maintained, and it brings back now to our observation that in fact it seemed that amount was just arrived at in abstract, bearing in mind what has now come out, that in fact it was after the budget was approved, then they sent in experts to go and do the scoping, which even brought out a bigger need than the amount that was allocated. We are told now, in fact, what was needed was 800 million and not what was initially allocated. So that was just a figure arrived in abstract, and now with that information there is still an allocation which is far less than what actually the scope has come up with. So our understanding is that in fact this money being allocated to Liua is being allocated just out of abstract without without justification of even the scope of work that is going to be done. And so our recommendation is that we take the money to where we understand that the need is, accompanied by the justification. So there was no submission even to defend why they did not adhere to the Planning and Budgeting Act to do the scoping before arriving at the proposed figure. So there was no convincing reason why that was not even done. I submit, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Just to add to what my colleagues have already alluded to.
You can also introduce yourself, sir.
Oh, thank you very much, Chair. My name is Jonathan Daka, Member of Parliament for Chadiza constituency.
Thank you.
And part of the, I'm a member of the Public Accounts Committee. Chair, in any technical project, first things have to come first. You need to do the ability, which you actually translate into going into doing detailed engineering designs and so forth, so as to arrive at the actual cost of doing the project. The risk in proceeding to do things in this manner, where things are just done in abstract, especially on such type of events, Chair, it risks government from committing to a project which is prone to stalling. We have a situation where the contractor may start the works and government fails to honor the subsequent payments. So it's only important that such type of a project, first of all, speaks to the detailed engineering design and costing rather than just thinking about figures in abstract. It's not correct, Chairperson. As a committee, we analyze this thing and we feel first things have to be done first. And in that regard, Chairperson, that's how we recommended that where there's justification, we take the money that was just arrived at in abstract and take it where it's needed most and where it's justifiable. So, Chair, the committee is firm on this submission. I submit, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me respond to a question from Honorable Mabenga on the contract. I think according to the submission, the contract is for the outside roads, but the access roads, they are not part of the contract you are asking. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable members, any other questions? No major variations, just those two if I get them. Any other? Okay. Vice Chairman of the committee with your team, we can only thank you most sincerely for coming to do this presentation. As we meet we are meeting the minutes on Thursday, isn't it? Is it Wednesday or so next week? We were consolidating all these variations you are recommending, and then we'll see how we move. Otherwise, thank you very much for making this submission. Okay, we'll end here for today. Thank you for coming. Honourable member, please remain inside. You are not supposed to go out.
Thanks so much, Chairperson. And thank you, my committee members, for the good submission. It was clear, so there were no questions. It was clear.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you so much. This is Parliament Television, the only station dedicated to bringing Parliament closer to you. Consideration over the 2026 national budget. Remember, piloting of our sector budgeting analysis is in full swing. And of course, that was the expanded planning and budgeting committee, which was receiving submissions from the public accounts committee. We still do expect the same committee to receive submissions from other witnesses. And of course, we do expect the committee on government assurances to appear before the committee. Don't go away, stay glued right here on Parliament TV.